Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live. I'm Laken, and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer all of your questions about goals, planning, life, whatever it is. Thank you so much for joining me this week. This is one of my favorite hours of the entire week to just get to sit down and answer your questions and talk about whatever it is that is on your mind, whatever you're struggling with, you need help with, support with. I am here to chat about it. I see so many hellos already in the comments. Y'all are just the absolute best. I'm so excited. Let's kick it off with our go-to first question, which is what it is that you are drinking. So if you're here live, drop it in the chat, what it is that you're sipping on while we are hanging out today. And if you are watching the replay, thank you so much for catching the replay. I appreciate you so much. Let us know in the comments what it is that you're drinking while you're watching the replay. I know a lot of you tend to multitask and do something else and treat it almost podcast style. I try to always make sure I repeat the questions to make sure that you still get value out of the replay that way. Hello, everyone. Cheney, you look like such a dancer today. Dancer or woman who has not washed her hair in a number of days. So really a bun was the only option for my hair today. It just did not look good. By the way, I also normally share what I'm drinking. I've got an iced coffee with me today in my Harry Potter cup. I was really going for the ice today. We got lots of water, lots of coffee, iced tea, sparkling ice, raspberry flavored water, Diet Coke, coffee and milk, lots of water. I also have my water nearby as well. All of the cups. I have another mug with me too. I was originally going to take the thumbnail and do a hot latte, and then when I took the thumbnail picture and then I went into the kitchen to make the latte and I was like, nope, really feeling ice today. So came back out with this, took more thumbnail pictures, all the things, all the fun behind the scenes. All right, let's get into it. What questions do you have today? What do you want to chat about? If you don't know how to phrase it into a question, you can always just say topic and put the topic that you want to talk about. If you're catching the replay, you can always put a question in the replay comments for me to answer next week, or sometimes I can just quickly answer them in the comments. And then I always forget to mention this at the beginning, but I am remembering, if your handle, like your YouTube name or your Facebook name, is not your actual name, I would love for you to include whatever your first name is or what name you like to go by. That way I'm able to address you with your actual name. So Cheney, how was sick? So I just answered this on Instagram, and you were the one whose response I shared on Instagram. Lots of people asked me. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I will be totally honest, now that I have more than 15 seconds to answer this question, I am very thankful that we waited for the lottery. So let me explain a little bit. If you've never heard about it, New York, most of the shows in New York have what they call a lottery, and it's to fill those last minute seats so that they still have a packed house. And so they will sell those last minute tickets at a much discounted price compared to full price. Now, normally Sam and I are very willing to pay ticket price, box office prices or whatever, fair value for tickets. Like, we want to support Broadway, we want to support the arts and make sure everybody gets their fair share. We are happy to pay full price. The full prices right now in Six were a little bit just out of control, in our opinion, especially given that it is a 1-act, 80-minute show, and the ticket prices were almost double what like a normal Broadway show ticket price was. It was just really hard for us to justify the cost. So I literally was entering the lottery every single day that I didn't have dance. And we finally, after almost a month I did a lot last year too. I was not as good and consistent about it last year. This year I got really consistent. So for basically a month, I did it almost every single day. And we finally won. So I'm glad that I was persistent with the lottery, because I loved that we got to go see it. And I would have been willing to pay somewhere in between, right, what I could have bought tickets for and what we paid. But I'm just really glad that we paid that price. And I did also buy a shirt since we saved a lot on the tickets. It was easier to justify. And I'm really excited about my shirt. Amy, how are you liking the daily reading book? Okay, so I don't love it. Totally honest. So if you have been around, last year I read The Daily Stoic 2 years. I read 2020 and 2021. I read The Daily Stoic, and I do love The Daily Stoic. I think it's incredibly valuable. I just didn't need to read it again for a third year in a row. I might go back and reread it at some point, like in my life in the future. So I picked up this book, which is A Year of Self-Esteem, Daily Reflections and Practices for Embracing Your Worth. Here's the thing. Most of them are really short. Like really, really short. And I don't know. I wish I had something. I wish it was more. Like, I wish there was something longer. So I'm not loving it. It's it's not too late. I could buy a different one and do something different, but I have so much more of my morning routine now. When I first started reading the Daily Stoic, it was really the key habit that kickstarted me creating a morning routine. So having it take me a little bit longer was really beneficial. Now that this is just one step into this very long step morning routine that I have, it's almost like it doesn't even really matter. I'm reading it, but I don't know. It's not a big exciting thing for me. Cheney, yeah, I literally just posted on Instagram, so don't feel bad. Thank you for all your compliments about having my hair pulled back. I appreciate it. I don't usually like to have my hair pulled back. Yeah, you entered the Hamilton San Francisco lottery. It takes commitment. Yeah, so now I've moved on to I'm entering Moulin Rouge because once again, I had tickets to that, right? And was literally sitting in the seats ready to watch it, but I bought those tickets pre-Tonys. And so it was much less expensive than the ticket prices are now. So I've moved on to the Moulin Rouge lottery, and that's what I'm focused on for now. Those books are on Kindle Unlimited, the whole series of daily reads. Yeah, so there's a bunch of them besides just this one. It's like a year of blank, and then there's lots of different ones. Even if it was the Kindle Unlimited, I would have wanted the physical copy, but I'm not loving it. I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's short. I don't know if it's because of the actual things that are in it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Ooh, Tammy, you got a daily poem book based on a recommendation from Cindy. I don't know. Poetry's not really my thing, but I would look into if you have another recommendation for a daily reader that's not this one or this line of readers. I'm here for it. Totally here for it. Oh, my mom has this one, the Just Speaks to Me by Hoda. My mom also loves Hoda. Y'all, my mom is in general obsessed with the Today Show, and then even more so obsessed with Hoda. And so she has that book. I don't think she reads it daily. I should just take her copy and read that and move into that. Okay, Mackenzie, what do you do when you're in the middle of an off week and everything still seems stuck? Do you try to get out of the funk or just let the stuck feeling be? So this is a really time applicable question because I absolutely was feeling this morning, truthfully. And I went and took my laptop and worked out of bed for the first couple hours of the day because I was just I don't feel like being a human today. And then finally was okay, you have things to do. So you got to get up, got to get ready, got to do all of the things. So for me, it really depends on what part of the week are we in? How close to the beginning or close to the end are we? And what does the rest of my week look like? Do I really need to get my stuff together and get out of this because I have a lot I need to do before we get to the weekend? If I don't have as much going on and I can kind of just have a funk week and then pick back up fresh the next week, or it's close to the end of the week, sometimes I will just let it go. Same thing with a day. If I'm having a day, if we're close to the end of the day, I'm just I'm done. I'm done for today. Goodbye. See you later. I'll move on tomorrow. If we are earlier in the week or I really need to get it together, I ask myself, what can I do that's just for me? That's the best way for me to get myself out of this, snap myself out of that. And whether that's going to a dance class, whether that's going to a coffee shop, whether that's watching my favorite movie, but something that is for me to get me kind of to snap out of that. I'm glad I'm not the only one feeling this about this book. Thanks for making me feel a little bit better about that. Casey, I've been thinking about adding a time block into my working style. Any advice in general or how to start with it? Do you mean into your 9-to-5 job, your corporate job? Or do you mean for stuff outside of your corporate job, I guess is my follow-up question to you. Oh, here's another daily read recommendation. Simple Abundance. Thank you, Amanda. Amy, this is a great question. How do you prioritize rest without giving into lethargy? I tend to work really, really hard, burn out, do nothing, feel overwhelmed by everything I haven't done, and start the whole cycle over again. I get that. And I was just telling somebody this, I think it was the group coaching group yesterday, that is how I was pre-shutdown. I was the same thing. I would work really hard, burn out, do nothing, and then repeat that whole cycle over and over again. And then everything shut down and basically forced me to have built-in rest on a regular basis. And that allowed me to really figure out how much rest I need to avoid that cycle of burnout. And so what I have realized, and it's taken me 2 years, and obviously I had the benefit of like no social life. So I was able to play with the different amounts of white space. But then there were definitely times in the last 2 years where things would start to open back up and we'd have all these social commitments. And I would be like, I can't do all of this. Like it's just there's not enough rest time. So really for me, and what hopefully would work for you, and figuring out what works for you, is figuring out how much rest you need to avoid what you consider working really hard, right? And that's going to be different levels, two things, different times and different types of rest. So, I mean, on a daily basis, how much rest you need, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a like more annual basis. And then what are those different types of rest? And the book Burnout is a really good resource on talking about different types of rest, because the other problem is we just associate like sitting on the couch watching Netflix as the only form of rest, or like sleep. And that's not true. Those are not the only types of rest. Doing physical exercise is a form of mental rest. There are just different ways to do different types of rest. So trying to figure out, sorry, I got distracted. The doorbell ring, which nobody ever rings our doorbell because you can't get into the building without buzzing in. So I don't know who's at the door, but it doesn't matter because I'm not going to answer it. So figuring out what are the different types of rest that you're going to incorporate, and then making sure that you're just protective of that amount on a daily, weekly, monthly, so on basis. And then when you have that rest time scheduled, soaking it up and not multitasking during it and not feeling guilty about it. And that's hard. It's hard to do. And it gets easier with time. The more that you prioritize that rest and take it, the easier it is to not feel guilty about it later. But just figuring out the best amount of rest for you so that you don't work into that cycle. If that makes sense. Cynthia, how do you wrap your head around deadlines? I am a procrastinator and it's my Achilles heel. So really, deadlines are the key to avoiding procrastination, because it forces you to get it done sooner. And the hard part can sometimes be when the deadline is much more time than you need, then you won't do it at the beginning because you know you can do it at the end. So whether these are personal deadlines or professional deadlines, it's figuring out the deadline to be much more equivalent to the amount of time that you need, and then working, like not giving yourself more time, because then it allows you to procrastinate. Amanda, since you liked math, have you played Nerdle? It's Wordle with equations. I have. So I was doing Wordle like everybody else. And I also tried Hogwartle, which is the Harry Potter version of Nerdle. And then I also did Nerdle, which is math equations. And then I realized I'm spending way too much time on all of these things. So I deleted the saved link on all of them. And I'm doing none of them now because I just don't want to spend the time every day doing them. Oh, Casey. Okay, back to Casey's questions. Corporate and working on school. I mean, time block is in the Q block thing where you do the time chunk sprints. So I do think that that's valuable. I think the key to that is figuring out what are the sprints that are best for you, right? So the Pomodoro technique, which is the most well-known form of this, is 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Everybody's brain is different depending on the project that you're working on at work or for school, and also depending on how well you work with breaks. 25/5 might not be the best fit for you. And so just playing around with that, because it might be something longer with a slightly longer break, or it might be something slightly shorter with a slightly shorter break, and figuring out what's the best fit for you and then following through on that. Lots of other praises for Burnout. Love Burnout. It's on your goal to reread. Loved Burnout. Never felt so seen. I will say the book in general sometimes feels a little bit all over the place. Like I don't know that their structure of the book is necessarily the best, but I did take a lot out of it for sure. Oh my God, there's a Peloton Wordle now. Guys, I just can't. There's too many. There's too many. All right, Heather, what is a should you have let go of and what led you to it? Whew. I cannot think of an example right off the top of my head, to be honest with you. But I think the things I try to ask myself when I'm just trying to decide if I'm doing this because I want to do it or because I feel like I should is, number one, does it make me happy? And that doesn't mean that everything in your life is always going to make you happy, but sometimes we're doing things that we don't have to be doing and they don't make us happy. And so there's no point in doing them. Number two is, if I could spend this time doing something else, would I? Like, is this how I want to be spending my time right now in the current season of life that I'm in? Maybe one of the shoulds I've let go of is memory keeping right now. It's just not something I'm prioritizing right now. It doesn't mean I don't like it. It doesn't mean that I don't want to eventually do it. But right now, it just doesn't really make sense. And then the other thing I ask is why? And getting down to that root cause, asking yourself why, again, and again, until you get to an answer that like really makes sense and is specific to you. And if you can't get to one, then it's probably something that you feel like you should be doing, but you don't actually need to be doing. Caitlin, how do you get better at planning? I found that I'm really good at scheduling, but not planning. Can you elaborate on this a little bit? Because I'm not quite sure if I fully understand the difference between scheduling and planning. Emily, how do you get momentum going when it's an important goal, but you don't want to? Studying for a test. Start with stupid, small tasks. So, instead of saying I'm going to set aside an hour or I'm going to do this whole chapter or I'm going to watch this whole video, you literally start with 5 minutes and then go do something else and then do another 5-minute chunk and then go do something else and start with little bitty tasks. And then usually once you get started with that, it gets easier to lengthen those times and do them a little bit longer, or do it more frequently to get to where you actually need to go. Amy, for you, if you felt like 50-10 or 45-15 was a good length for focus work. Yeah. And I feel the same way, Shade. For some things I work on, 25 is just not enough time. But then on the flip side, sometimes 5 minutes is not, I don't necessarily need 5 minutes. I need like 30 seconds to like scroll my phone and check Instagram and I can get back to work. Ooh, Lisa, thank you for this recommendation. The app Orange, at least for iOS, lets you pick different time frames for the Pomodoro technique. So you could set it and go from there. This is also a really good tip for Emily from Amanda. Pairing it with something that you actually want to do. Yes. So not that you can multitask studying at the same time as something else that you like doing, but you study and then you get to do something that you really like. That's a good one. Katie found that 25 minutes was too long for her, so she does it for 15 minutes. For me, it really depends on the task. If I'm doing something like around the house, 25 minutes is way too long. Like I need to set like a 10 or 15-minute timer. But if I'm doing something like sitting at my computer, 25 minutes is too short and I want longer before I'm forced to take a break. So it depends on what the task is that I'm doing, depending on how much time I need. Looks like I'm all caught up on comments and questions. What else is on your mind? What else are you struggling with? How's it going? How's everybody's day going? Everybody's month? I can't believe it's flying. Time is flying, you guys. I'm hoping that after the wedding, time will stop flying quite so fast. But I feel like that's what's causing time to fly, but I couldn't tell you if that was really it. Speaking of the wedding, are you getting really excited for the wedding now that it's so close? Yes and no. It like depends on the hours. Some hours I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is going to be so fun. And I can't wait to see people. And then some hours I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things to do. And so many, like literally yesterday, my mom and I were texting about tablecloths for the rehearsal dinner. I'm like, I don't care. Like, just pick a tablecloth. I was like, Mom, just pick them and order them. I do not care. Like I'm putting that on your plate because it is something I do not care about. So it's just, there's so many little things at this point that I could not care less. And I'm trying to not get so frustrated with them. But yeah. Lynn, there are lots of products available for planning goal setting. What do you look for when choosing additional items? So this is a great question, Lynn. And what I would say is don't look for additional items for the sake of looking for additional items. If you feel like you have a need that is not being filled, like you need to be tracking routines in a certain way, or you need a place to break this down, or you need a place to plan this kind of thing out. What is it that you need? And then go look for the additional items that fulfill that need that you have. One of the things I found so helpful in understanding is coaching around Clifton strengths. That helps me lean into what I do best. A top strength for me is adaptability. That's cool. I've never really looked into Clifton strengths. I've heard of it, but I've never looked into it, so I can tell you what mine are, but that's very cool. Maybe it's something I do need to look into. Plans for Valentine's, or are you both focused on wedding planning? Yeah, no Valentine's Day plans. Actual Valentine's Day, I have dance. It's a Monday, and I have dance. And then this weekend before, we have a birthday party on Saturday, and then the Super Bowl's on Sunday. So there's just no Valentine's Day plans. We have a big date planned in next month, and then we have our mini moon right afterwards. So no Valentine's Day plans for us. Amy, great question. How do you decide whether you need to cut some goals from your month or whether you need to just power through this month and set fewer goals? So it really depends on what kind of mindset you have when it comes to having things be blank on whatever goal setting system or wherever you're tracking your goals. If you're okay with having things be blank and it doesn't frustrate you, then keep powering through this month, knowing that you are probably not going to get to all of it. Like you're probably not going to have some things blank, and that's okay, but you don't feel unmotivated by those blanks, and you just keep pushing what you can push through. That said, I am very, very strongly a proponent of crossing things off right now and letting them go right now, especially if it gives you a little bit of like brain space to not worry about it, especially for like some habit type goals, daily, weekly, just cross them off. Be like, no, this is not happening this month, and I'll figure it out next month. Especially since it's only the 9th. I think if you really already feel like there are some goals that you're not going to get to, cross them off. Lynn, this is a great question, especially coming from you and all of your routines. How important to you is simplicity in your planning and goal setting? Any tips for not overcomplicating it? So there's two facets here for me. One is the overcomplicating and one is the time it takes. I'm going to start with the time because I think that one is easier for people to realize that that's what's happening. If you are spending way more time planning out your goals instead of taking action on them, then you're definitely making it harder than it needs to be and using that time and organization planning time as procrastination for taking action on your goals. It should not in any scenario take you more time to plan out your goals than it does for you to take action on them. So if that is the case, then it is you're spending too much time, and figure out how to take less time on the planning aspect of it. Most of the time it's letting go of the need to have the entire plan be perfect, and you need to just take the next best step on that goal. In terms of overcomplicating it, that is usually us thinking that we need to have all the answers before we get started. And there's just a lot of trial and error. This has been a theme that I've been talking with a lot of people about in the last week or so, is how much of goals is trial and error. And trying something and seeing if it works for you. And if it does, awesome, implement it, keep going. If it doesn't, don't look at that as wasted time. Look at that as I tried it. I'm a scientist. It didn't work, and I'm going to let it go. And now I know what I can try next, right? If you think about performing an experiment and you're changing all these little variables and trying to figure out which one is going to be the best for you, and then changing your mind if it doesn't work, you have that prerogative to change your mind. You don't have to wait for a new week, a new month, a new year. Try things and move on. I think sometimes our overcomplication comes from, well, I need to figure out what the right way is before I even try it so that I don't waste any time. But then we spend so much time trying to figure that out that we don't even try. You're so much better off taking the action, trying it out, and then if it doesn't work, you try something else and see until you figure out what does work for you. Planning a wedding is prep. If you ever build a house, so many decisions. I don't know if I ever foresee us like building a house from scratch. I mean, never say never, but I don't think the places we plan to live are necessarily going to be new development. So I don't know if that will ever be a case, but that also sounds like a place I do not want to make all of those decisions. At least for a house, those decisions I'm making are going to last for like ever. The color of the tablecloths at the rehearsal dinner are going to last for like 2 hours. Move on. Hannah, I feel like I have extra time in the evening that I want to use to work on goals, but I don't really have any goals that I can just sit down and work on. So when you say that, do you feel usually there's a disconnect between the time you think it's going to take you to work on a goal and the time that you have in the evening? So I would ask you, what are those goals that you do have? Even if it doesn't feel like it's something you can sit down and work on, what are the goals that you do have? And how can you break them down so that you can fit them into your evening times? Because if we feel like that goal doesn't fit in that time slot, it's usually because it's a time disconnect, not necessarily because you don't have the right type of goal, if that makes sense. And then how do you come up with goals that are just for fun? What do you like to do for fun? Ask yourself, what is fun to you? Think back to your childhood. What did you like to do just for fun? I understand that some of those things are not necessarily an option if you don't live in the same place, not surrounded by the same people, but what are the things that you like to do that are just for fun? And then also be willing to try things new. Try things that are new. It can be really hard for us as adults to be willing to be beginners at things again and be bad at things and try things out, but be willing to try new things and see if it's something that you have fun with. And then if it's not, like I talked about before, no wasted time. You learned and you move on to something else. Shay, did you already share where you guys will be going for your honeymoon? I have in a few places, but I'm happy to share again. So we're going to go on a mini moon right after the wedding, just a couple of nights in a little town called Fredericksburg, just to get away and have some alone time right after the wedding. And then we are going on a longer honeymoon later this year to Thailand. Heather, I am learning new things at work, but struggling with procrastination because learning is hard. Any tips to overcome procrastination when it's actually your job? Yeah. So that is also because the part of your brain that you're using to learn can only work so hard. And so sometimes it's probably coming from a place that you're trying to do too much at one time. And so you're procrastinating it because your brain's like, I don't want to do that. It's exhausting. And I don't have the capacity to do as much as you're going to try to make me do. So do it in smaller stints. So you learn something and then you go work on something else, or you learn something and then you go take a break. And hopefully with your job, you're able to make that kind of balance between the two work, because I do feel like if you're trying to learn for too long of a stint, your brain is just going to be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Well, it's a good question. I have some things that I want to do that don't fully relate to one of my 8 yearly goals. Do you still add things to your Powersheets or track them somewhere else? So this is an interesting question because I was just thinking about this. I was watching Plan with Elise. If you don't follow her here on YouTube, she uses a lot of Happy Planner products and she does a lot of budgeting type videos. Well, she also this year started doing goal videos with her Powersheets. And one of the things that she did was she picked another color and put that color in her Powersheets for things that aren't related to her 8 yearly goals, which I thought was really interesting because the Powersheets do offer you 10 colors, and even though there's only 8 goals. So that is one option. You could absolutely put them in your Powersheets. You also, if you watch my goals video that went up, it was literally 2 days ago. So if you haven't watched it, I understand. I put some goals in there that don't really directly relate to one of my 8 goals, but like are something I wanted to do this particular month. And I just gave it a color. Like I wasn't picky about it. I just gave it a color. I would also maybe encourage you to see which one of it could relate to, because if it is something that you really want to do, how does it fit into your other goals? Because time is precious. And so if you're spending time doing those other things, it likely means that you're sacrificing on one of your other goals. And like, so does it fit into one of those other goals, or is it more important, and kind of how those things work together? That said, I also track things outside of my Powersheets, like reading. Reading is something that I have a goal to read, but it's not one of my 8 goals. It's just tracked in Goodreads. It's not something specific that I put somewhere in my Powersheets, if that makes sense. I know I just gave you a lot of options, but hopefully something in there fit. Jessica, what is a good way to celebrate your small wins and progress instead of focusing on the goals you have not started? It's really tough. You are not alone in that. We all struggle to stop and celebrate the wins instead of just moving on to whatever the next thing is. One of my biggest tips, this is a whole session that I work on with my one-on-one clients about celebrating wins. But one of the things I always suggest is telling other people, and being proud when you tell other people about your wins and your progress. And so finding the people in your life that you can share that with. I would love to tell you that person is going to be your significant other. And don't get me wrong. Do I share all my wins with Sam? Yeah. Does he always really care about them? No, not always, depending on what the goal is. He's like, okay, great. I'm happy for you. Right. But figuring out who those people are, for me, a lot of times that's you. Like, I share my wins with you, and that is a way for me to celebrate my progress along the way, is sharing the progress that I've made. I also have specific friends that I share specific wins with, right? Like, I have friends that own small businesses. Those are the people I go to when I want to celebrate my small business wins. I have another friend who's planning a wedding. She's the person I always go to when I want to celebrate wedding wins. So just thinking about who in your life you can share those small wins with along the way. Oh my gosh, Liz, I love this. You inspired me to put roller skating on your fun list this year. I loved my roller skates as a kid. I know I loved my roller skates too. And hopefully soon, eventually, I will get back into using my roller skates again if my foot allows me to do so. Yes, Tiffany, I love this. I loved your goal last year of doing things every day that make you happy. I've had major burnout in the last few weeks, so I picked that up and it's made a difference. We don't need hours and hours and hours to spend time on things that make us happy. Like, even just lighting a candle, or like making your favorite meal, like little things that make you happy, it adds up. How do you bring more creativity into your life and feel inspired? For me, it's things like journaling with tarot cards, practicing yoga without an instructor, and just free flowing. So for me, I mean, creativity looks different for every person, right? For me, listening to music, and therefore like not worrying, not listening. Otherwise, things that are coming, I'm listening to, is like podcasts or YouTube videos or like a TV show. But just listening to music and letting my brain kind of turn off and just enjoy the music is a really like a way for me to feel more creative and kind of just turn my brain off. I also think for me, it's getting out of the apartment and spending time outside of the apartment allows me to then, when I come back, to feel like I can pull on that creativity again. I think it also depends on what type of creativity I'm trying to tap into, on what I kind of need to instigate that. Lisa, I'm having trouble managing projects big and small. What are your best tips for project planning? So I don't necessarily know what you mean here by projects, because that term can mean a lot of different things, right? Like, I would sometimes look at my goals as projects, and I keep all of those breakdowns on my iPad. And just having a place that you constantly refer back to the plan and the list of ideas and all the things that you're working on towards that project are really helpful. I think that's true for what I would consider a project. And then I have work projects, and those are a little bit different, where I break those down further. But I think the key is breaking them down, having a place that you always refer back to those breakdowns, not just like random sticky notes here or there, random notepads here and there, and then actually scheduling the time to work on each of those individual steps. Oh, Caitlin, going back to the question about scheduling and planning. I'm really good at scheduling appointments and things that I need to be at. Okay, so you mean scheduling like appointments, but struggle with meeting deadlines, especially with school. So then I burn out quickly trying to do it all at the last minute. So I think what it comes down to is trying to plan it all out and expect that you're going to be able to perfectly follow that plan to the very end. And knowing that you're not going to be able to follow it perfectly and letting go of that makes planning a little bit easier. I know it feels counterintuitive to be like, well, I'm going to make a plan and then I'm not actually going to end up following it. And the truth is you're probably not, because life is going to change. Something is going to take you more time or less time than you thought it was going to. Something else is going to pop in and take priority. But having a roadmap that is a potential plan, but then being able to pivot and be flexible when you need to be, is how you're able to continue to make progress and not wait till the last minute, but also know that like you can shift things around if you need to. I think that is where we struggle a lot, is we feel like the plan has to be perfect, and it will never be, because there is no such thing as perfect, because life is always going to happen. Then the longer the plan is, the less perfect it's going to be. I feel like I should write that one down. Oh, Lisa, this is so sweet. What can we do to help celebrate your wedding when it happens? I feel like we've been on the ride with you and want to help you celebrate. That's a great question that I don't really have an answer to right this second. I'm open to suggestions. I appreciate all of you so much. I do feel like you've been here on the ride. I mean, I've been on Instagram since before I met Sam, and then I met Sam, and then, you know, we fell in love and moved in together. And then I started a YouTube channel, and then we got engaged, and we started planning a wedding, and then it got postponed. And now here we are. We are 30 days out tomorrow. Tomorrow will be 30 days until the wedding, which is bananas. Amy, this is a good example of something you want to put in your Powersheets, but that doesn't necessarily tie into one of your goals, is filling in your 5-year journal. It doesn't really contribute to my yearly goals, but it connects to a life area I have a goal in, so I'm putting it under that. Yep. It, again, kind of with letting go of that perfection, it doesn't really, it almost doesn't matter. I don't want to say that because I don't want you to feel like I could just assign my goals, whatever. But the color coding is not necessarily about it being perfect and saying like this goal ties in exactly to that. And it's having it, holding you accountable, and making sure it's something that's important to you. Thank you, Lisa Marie. I commented at the beginning that it's really just because I need to wash my hair, but I appreciate that. I am in a complete planner rut. I've gone through 3, had to downsize. I feel like I was putting things in my planner and just using a sticker just to use it, just to vent. Michelle, that you are not alone in that scenario. You are welcome to vent here all day long also about planner ruts. I think if you did not watch them, I posted a video about planner ruts back during Vlogmas, and it was a collaboration with 25 other YouTube channels where we all talked about planner ruts and planner funks. I would go check out some of those videos and see if there's anything in those that kind of spark something in you that would help you, get through that. Jessica, I'm secretly hoping you'll share some wedding pics with us. I love weddings, and I know you'll be the most gorgeous bride. I will definitely share wedding pictures for sure. No promises on any video content and no promises on how many pictures I will share, but you know that there will be some pictures that will suffice. That will not suffice. Surface, I guess, is the word I was trying to use. Absolutely, I will share some wedding photos for sure. If any indication of how many engagement photos I've shared since we got those done, I will definitely share wedding photos. I love our photographer. She is fantastic. And so I cannot wait to see what she does at the actual wedding. I'm so excited. Oh, welcome. So glad that you were able to make the live from the other side of the pond. Just got home from work. I think I'm all caught up again with questions, comments. What else is on your mind? So I feel like we've been kind of all over the place today talking about planners and procrastination. I really feel like I have been on a kick lately with this whole like trial and error thing. But, Ariana, I know that you were worried about the length of your hair for the wedding. Is it where you want it to be? No, it's not. But, oh well. That is something that's not in my control anymore. I mean, it could be if I really wanted to go get extensions, I could go get extensions, but like, I'm just not worrying about it anymore. I did what I could do. I've only gotten a trim since that haircut, and I have been taking hair vitamins since I got that haircut, and it is what it is. So. Mm-hmm. Are you doing up to for the wedding? Because you look like a princess. I'm not going to share how I'm wearing my hair for the wedding because I don't want it to give away anything. And Sam is on this rampage trying to figure out what he is like convinced he knows everything about my attire for the wedding. And I don't want to give him any hints. And he constantly tries to trick me. And I'm very on it. Like the other day, he said something about like, are you going to wear something about earrings related to the wedding? And I was like, I'm not answering your question related to my attire for the wedding. He's really trying to figure it out. So I'm not going to share until after the wedding. Ooh, this is a good one. I'm a rewards-driven person, but can't come up with a reward for paying down debt that isn't spending money. Any suggestions? Yes. So 2 things. Number 1, yes, suggestions for rewards that aren't spending money. Watching things that you're really excited about, like saving episodes of things until you've paid down a certain amount of debt, watching a new show, watching a new movie, listening to a podcast, a YouTube channel. Those kinds of things are usually one of my go-to suggestions for a non-financial reward. Spending time with people, but I mean, I feel like we should be spending time with people anyways, regardless of it being a reward. The other thing I will say though is I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to reward yourself with something financial that is small if it is going to motivate you to do more. And so what I mean by that is you're not going to pay off X amount of debt and then go spend that same X amount on a reward. But if you pay down X amount in debt and then you spend a small piece of that on a reward for yourself, and that small reward entices you to then pay down another X amount of debt, I don't think that that's a bad thing. So that is my opinion on that. Michelle, what is your Peloton routine? I'm in a rut with that too. So I am still trying to figure out the best routine for me around dance and around PT, but I am part of a Facebook group called Hardcore on the Floor that has strength classes for the Peloton that I absolutely love. And so what I'm trying to do is do at least 2 of their classes every day. And so it's usually a core and then some sort of other strength class. And I usually like 10-minute core and a 10-minute strength. And then on the days that I don't have dance, I am trying to also do some sort of a ride. And then when I have dance, I kind of count that as my cardio. So I don't feel like I also need to do a ride. So really it's like Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I also ride in addition to that. Still trying to figure out if that works for me. If I did not have dance, I would just follow that calendar basically to a T, except the weekends, because I like not having a workout plan for the weekends. If I didn't have dance, I would just follow that calendar to a T and add in a ride probably most days. But I feel like figuring out what works for you. Yes, Roxanne, Hardcore on the Floor is so hard some days and other days feel so good. It's a great program. The woman who puts it together is brilliant and it is absolutely fantastic. Here's another tip from Cheney, who I also took a tip from, but she pre-picking her rides on Sunday and then pairing it with arm and lightweight classes. And then each day as part of her morning routine, which I stole, taking it from her pre-planning and then putting it into her stack for the day. Emily, do you watch Sweet Magnolias on Netflix? Season 2 just dropped and I'm trying to hold off until March. No, I have not. I just finished my Gilmore Girls rewatch, which I've talked about. And then right now I'm actually rewatching season 1 of The Morning Show because I want to watch season 2. I was waiting for Sam and I just can't wait for Sam anymore. I just don't have time to wait for Sam. I really want to watch it. And so I got an Apple password from someone in my family and I'm rewatching season 1 to prepare myself for season 2 of The Morning Show. Yeah, the hardcore calendar can feel a little bit intimidating. Here's the key, y'all. You don't have to do every class on that calendar. You do not. So even if you use it to pick one class, like one strength class that you're going to do each day in addition to a ride, that is totally an option. Also, Michelle, in terms of like rides themselves, really only doing rides that have playlists that you're really excited about. Like look at the playlist, look at the songs, and pick rides. So what I'll do sometimes is if we're just sitting on the couch watching TV, I will spend time going through the most recent Peloton rides and go mark all the ones that I know have playlists that I would love to do and just keep them saved so that I always have options. It's instead of trying to look at the playlist in the moment, I will just do it when I'm doing something else, if that makes sense. This is a good tip as well. Also have a minimum. If I wake up and feel like I don't feel like doing my planned workout, tell myself to do a 10-minute low impact ride just to build the consistency. Yeah, definitely. And also starting back up with something small, right? If you've been in a funk and you haven't been getting on your Peloton, don't worry about trying to get back to 30-minute full impact rides. Like start with those 10 minutes, start with those smaller rides, those lower impact, just like anything we talk about with goals. Like start small and don't feel like you're going to get back up to that same intensity you were at before. Heck, I'm still doing low impact with my foot. Like I just haven't been able to work my way back up. It hurts when I get out of the saddle. So I'm still doing low impact, and something's better than nothing. Oh, shade. I don't do all the workouts on the hardcore calendar. Sometimes I'm exhausted after the 20-minute workout and then I'm done. Yeah. I also, if I am writing, I will ride first before I do the strength classes because I know I need my energy for that. That's just me. Amy, and you do it based on instructor. Yeah. I mean, everybody is different. So everybody's got their own preferences on how they finagle their workout calendar. When you see, I filmed a day in the life yesterday. When you see that go up next week, you will also see how much I'm struggling to figure out my workout plan on days that I have PT because I'm struggling there. Oh man, I'll be very glad when that's not a thing anymore. But it's all right. Someday. You know what? I say that because I'm excited to not have to go to PT every week, but I also am really going to miss my physical therapist because I really like her as a person. I want to be like, can we be friends? Like outside of this? Like once I'm no longer your patient, I don't know if patient's the right word, given that I'm client, I don't know. I want to be like, can we be friends outside of this? We're like the same age. She loves football. Like she's from Texas. Like we should just be friends. Oh, that's a very sweet offer, Cheney. It took me a while to figure it out too. Like it's, again, going back to that trial and error concept. Like it will take time. And not feeling like what you do each week has to be the same for a whole month, or even what you do each day has to be the same for a whole week. Like try something, see if it works for you. And then if it does, great, keep going. If it doesn't, what didn't work, change it and move on to the next thing. Roxanne, the Encanto Peloton ride was awesome. I'm sure it was. Answered this on Instagram too. I still haven't watched Encanto, y'all. I know. Again, Sam and I have not been able to find time to watch anything together at all. So we'll get there. We'll watch it eventually. It's also a 30-minute, not low impact. So my body's not ready for it anyway, unfortunately. What else? I could always talk about. What do you think of Jordan Peterson and what he teaches about achieving goals? I have never watched anything from him or listened or read or whatever platform he's on. I actually don't know who that is. So I will think about it. I will look into it and let you know. Did you end up finding a word that you like better to call your clients coachees? No, not yet. Lots of you gave some fun suggestions in the comments of that video, and I still haven't quite figured out what is the best fit for me. I don't know. I don't know why I don't like the word client so I don't know. Amanda, if I have ideas, projects I want to do on my YouTube channel, do I treat those like goals and go through all the steps of brainstorming and breaking it down? Absolutely. I would highly, highly recommend doing that. It is the process, even if you're not calling it a goal, right? The process of knowing why that idea or project is important to you, breaking it down into smaller steps and scheduling it into your calendar. Same process, same importance. Elise, am I watching the Winter Olympics at all? I'm not. Again, going back to the fact that we don't have time to watch anything together, or in general, watching a lot of things. We also don't have cable. So watching the Olympics is kind of hard without cable. So no. Also, winter is not, it's not my favorite. I much prefer the Summer Olympics. Also, I feel like we just watched the Summer Olympics. I know it was 6 months ago because they were pushed back. And the Winter Olympics happened, they're already closer together. So I feel like I wasn't ready for more Olympics yet. I feel like I wasn't excited yet. So no, not really. Oh, Peggy, be careful with Jordan Peterson. Interesting. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Any other wedding advice you want to share as we enter the last 30 days of planning a wedding? I'm very ready to no longer be planning a wedding. I could not imagine, by the way, going on a honeymoon right after my wedding and also be trying to plan a honeymoon right now. Like, I don't feel like I would be doing a good job I can barely get like the hotels booked because I feel like we need to do that. I have the hiccups now. Sorry. So I don't know how I would be doing both for people who go on like a honeymoon right away. That's amazing. Anything else? Cheney, what are you going to fill the time that you've been wedding planning with? That's a great question. It's funny you asked that because I was just telling somebody the other day, they asked a question along the lines of like, what have you been doing with all your free time now that you quit your full-time job or your corporate job? And I was like, well, I don't know because, it was November was when I was officially full-time working for myself, and we went straight into Vlogmas. And so I felt like I was just able to actually enjoy the holiday season and move, shift all of Vlogmas during the day so that I could enjoy the evenings. Whereas before, when I was working a corporate job, I didn't feel like I could do that. And now I feel like I just basically took Plan with Laken and shifted it to my corporate hours. And then the wedding is taking up all my Plan with Laken hours. So I don't feel like I have any extra time. I'm like, I don't know where all this extra time was. Like, where did it go? I have no idea. So yeah, once I'm no longer planning the wedding, I'm like really not sure what I'm going to do with those hours and that time. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Oh, Emily, we are planning to do this, and we're planning to eat during those 15 minutes alone, which Sam's really exciting about. What am I looking forward to this week? Oh, that's a good question. Probably the Super Bowl. I like the Super Bowl. I like the commercials. It's also shaping up to be a really great game. I said on Instagram, I am cheering for the Rams because one of my best friends is a Rams fan, and I'm here for her and cheering for her Rams. But it's going to be a good game, and I'd be happy with if either team won. Like, it's not, usually we go to the Super Bowl and I like really don't want one of the teams to win. So I'm excited. Yes, Teresa asking the can we be friends is probably a scary thing. But it was funny because this week I said something that I wanted to do sports related, and I was like, yeah, my fiance is not really that excited to go with me. And she was like, oh my gosh, I would go with you. So I want to be like, do you really want to go with me? Let's go do that thing. So we'll see. Oh, this is a good tip. Make sure one of your bridesmaids checks your look, dress, hair, and makeup is in place all night. Make sure you eat. Make a list of pictures that you would like and share that with your photographer. Thank you. I did see the Simpsons prediction for the game. I thought that was funny. Oh, I love this is nice wedding advice as well. Is enjoy the day. Don't worry about anything that doesn't go to plan. I've been married for 40 plus years. That's amazing, Erin. That is amazing. I feel like I have already gotten a little bit to the place where I'm just like, things are already not going as planned, and I'm just going with the flow at this point. We finished all of our table assignments. I feel like I'm excited. Like, I'm really, really excited. I'm doing just hip hop this season. So I figured tap on my still healing foot was not the best option. So I'm doing 4 hip hop dances, which my brain is kind of struggling to process and handle a little bit. Even though they are different styles of hip hop, it's still really, my brain is struggling a lot. And maybe after the wedding, that will help. Once I screw the time in my calendar, maybe I think after the wedding, my brain will just be happier to have not the wedding in my brain, and it'll make dance easier and just life. I'll just feel a little bit later. Jessica, do you count listening to audiobooks on Goodreads or just physical books? So I do not listen personally to audiobooks, but I think they count. Yep. At the end of the day, you just need you, the groom, and the officiant. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, and our officiant's fantastic. He's been doing such a great job, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I love it. All right, y'all. We are getting to the end of our time. I appreciate all of your wedding advice, by the way. You're welcome to send it to me for the next 30 days. You send it to my DMs, comment on this video, on Instagram, whatever. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of the advice. I appreciate it so much. Let's go with my final question, and that is, what is one thing that you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? What is that one thing that you can do? You can do it. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to feel like it's changing your life, but that small step is going to lead to another small step, which will lead to another small step that will add up over time. So what is one small thing you will do this week to make progress on your goals? And if you're watching the replay and you stuck to the end, you're amazing. Thank you. Let us know in the comments what it is that you're going to do. Finish knitting the baby blanket for my new little cousin. I love that. Oh, Cynthia. Yes. Advice, start shifting to the actual marriage. I feel like we sort of did that as soon as like everything shut down. And I feel like the amount of time we've spent together in the last 2 years, I feel good. Keep drinking your water, buy Valentine's Day goodies, just start. I love that. Do a video for your budgeting class, continue reading, finish your novel for school, more Peloton things. Amy, you're amazing. Use the nail grinder on your dog's nails. Oh my gosh, Charlie needs a nail trim too. Getting back on the tracking train. Absolutely. Tracking makes such a difference, y'all. Schedule some me time. Lisa, absolutely. Much deserved. Go for a walk on your treadmill. Oh, hello, Rachel. Welcome to the end. Planning a training session and a retreat. Oh, Marion, that sounds amazing. Oh my gosh. Emily, that is way more than one thing. Oh, yeah. I forgot that the Patreon Q&A is this weekend. Yes. Use the 5-minute rule when you feel stuck. Absolutely. Walk every day. Cheer for your Rams. I love that, Amber. Good luck. Good luck to them this weekend. Focusing on habits this week and temporarily ignoring the monthly goals. Love that, Amy. Love that. Your niece is coming to sleep over. That is so fun and definitely an important goal to spend time with the ones that you love. And I just feel like you got to enjoy that, right? Enjoying family and prioritizing that is always so, so important. Y'all are the best. Thank you for hanging out with me this week. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching.